So I'm back from my morning walk. Um, I've been walking for about 2 hours for quite a while now. I can't remember when I started. And lately I've been carrying a backpack also because it's my intention in the fullness of time to take um, a longer trek lasting several days. And obviously I would have to carry some equipment with me. So it's not enough that I just can walk, which is getting better, but it's still not good enough. But I also need to be able to walk with weight. So I'm preparing in that way. I've only done it with a backpack 3 times now, and I'll continue. It certainly makes a difference. I can feel the extra strain, and I'm only carrying at the moment 6 kilos, which is insufficient. I think for a hike I would have to carry probably 10 kilos if I allow for water and a stove, and 10 kilos might be optimistic. It might be heavier, but I would like to keep it to around about 10 kilos. I don't think I could handle much more. But this is a daily practice, and it leads me out into the woods every day and into a quiet place. And I do meet people walking along, and I can sometimes have a chat. It's just it's been an absolute blessing to me to have understood the importance of physical fitness, and my fitness is certainly improving. I've not, I haven't got to my target, but maybe I never will. But it doesn't matter. It's a process. I've lost a lot of weight. I'm now trying to build up some muscle, and that's going to take a little while. But it will all happen. I saw this would be 3 months ago now, I think, when I first fell into this satori and awakening. I understood that the things that I had projected would happen. I don't know quite how to explain it. I'm just carrying on the same path, really. I mean, changing it from time to time, as obviously based on my experience, but the goal is quite singular, and it is to do with being fit and healthy. Um, having good doctrine and having good understanding, I think, should be coupled also. You wouldn't expect somebody to have good doctrine and good understanding and to be very unhealthy. It would seem to be an incorrect combination. I mean, unhealthiness and overweight and all these things seem to point to a lack of understanding in one's life. And certainly, my understanding has been lacking, and so now I'm trying to refine it by exercise. And this morning I watched a video about Pattaya in Thailand, and it's the second one that I've watched. There are things that pop into my feed. You know how it is with YouTube. Things pop up, and you find yourself following little rabbit trails up and down. And I've become quite interested in the idea of traveling to Thailand. And of course, in the church, Thailand was viewed with horror. And there was no question about the fact that the tsunami that happened, I don't know whether it was about 2009, was it, or something around that time, that many Christians viewed it as a judgment upon the wickedness that was associated with the sex industry in Thailand. That's quite a presumption, really, to say that. And of course, a lot of suffering and death accompanied that event. Whether it was a judgment from God or not, I certainly don't know. I know that some of the practices that go on there are not godly, but most of the practices that go on here in Great Britain are not godly. And we haven't had a tsunami just yet, but you could justify tsunamis all over the world, really. So far are we from loving God and acting in obedience and having Him as our perfect um, standard in all things, and praising Him and thanking Him for everything that we have in our lives and the abundance that we have. These practices are really not, they're lacking. It's not, and people, you can go to church on Sunday. That doesn't make any difference at all. I mean, the churches are really dark and satanic, actually, and full of hypocrisy, I'm sorry to say. So I don't really subscribe, although I did briefly for a while think that Thailand might be the very pit of wickedness. Now I'm considering it in a different light, and you might think it's a cynical light, but I must say that the idea of going to a place where women actually um, value my presence and seek me out. And I know they would seek me out for financial gain, but at least there's a reason. I mean, you can't even get sought out in Britain for financial gain by women, because you can't offer anything that they don't already have or can't already obtain very easily. The value of men, I mean, really, we've been so despised. And, the women that I meet, really, they're just, I have very little chance of spending any time with them because I don't fit into the perfect category that they think that they are entitled to. It doesn't matter what they look like or how heavy they are or how nice or horrible they are. They still have these very, very high standards. A few months ago, or a little bit longer than that, possibly a year ago, I was walking and I saw a young man. He would have been maybe 20. He seemed like a pretty nice looking young fellow. He's slender and fit. He looked, he was sitting on a wall and looking at his phone. And as I walked past and nodded or said hello, I can't remember. And suddenly a woman appeared over the horizon or from the road, and she was pretty big. She wasn't the most beautiful woman that I've ever seen, to put it mildly, and she was swearing and cursing very loudly at this young man, and completely disregarding the presence of any other people in the street. And just a stream of vile blasphemy and filthy language was pouring from her lips as she approached this fellow who'd obviously done something to upset her. And he was going to be berated by it, and she went right up to him and carried on shouting and screaming so much, and he was quite passive. And I thought to myself, well, why on earth would one want to be associated with somebody like that? It didn't make any sense. I mean, if she were beautiful, you could have said, well, maybe there's an upside to it, but she really wasn't. She was very unattractive. I mean, not just because of her weight. I mean, people can be big and attractive, don't get me wrong, but that's like everything about her. Unkempt and dirty and filthy language, just repulsive. And it makes me think about the role that we have and the women that we have in our lives. And meditating upon these things, I thought to myself, I wouldn't mind going to Pattaya or I don't know, I've never been to Thailand, but where there's this sex trade and sex tourism. I mean, I value the company of women. And, well, they say, well, they're just prostitutes. Well, at least, we men, we have some value that they're interested in. They have far more traditional ideas and roles. And the idea of having young women being nice to me, even if it's because they want my money, at least they're being nice to me. So whether I'll do it or not, I don't know. But it's not the first time that this idea has come to my mind, and I've kind of dismissed it because of all the wickedness that I'd imagined. But after watching a few videos and beginning to meditate more upon these things, I'm more persuaded that it would be an interesting thing, at least interesting and perhaps satisfying, for all I know. Certainly not to find, a long-term partner. I don't think that would be a suitable um, thing for me in my life at the moment. I probably haven't got enough money, because I believe that some of these young women can become a great drain on a man's financial resources, from what I can understand. But I can certainly see the attractiveness. I mean, many of the women there are very beautiful, and they will pay some attention to a man, which is nice. I've always enjoyed it. So, I'm sure that anybody that knows that I'm, a Christian and used to go to church, they'll be shaking their head once again. But that's just my thought about it. It's fairly expensive to get to Thailand, I suppose about £500 from what I can see, and then you've got accommodation. But I think um, the living expenses are quite economical there, and probably a hotel. One could find a cheap hotel somewhere. So perhaps I'll do that. I was thinking to myself. I mean, in our society, my wife is a radical feminist. We don't live together any longer, but she spends a lot of her time in initiatives that are basically about fighting the patriarchy. And she wanted me to be supportive of this. Also, my daughter was involved, and I had to explain to her that I can't fight the patriarchy because in our family I am the patriarch. I don't know why she hadn't considered that before inviting me to do it. But it typifies a certain attitude that exists among women. Of course, she's fighting the patriarchy, but if I, don't pay maintenance, then she's in dire trouble. And I've been paying maintenance for many years now, and I get nothing back for it. I don't get my house cleaned. I don't have any, fun time. I don't have any company. So it's just money that I have to spend to look after somebody who is dear to me, because we lived together for nearly 30 years, and she is the mother of my daughter. I won't abandon her, but it's just so messed up, the ridiculously low value that we men are awarded in our society because of the indoctrination that has gone on. And women have really, in many cases, I think they've quite lost the plot. My only experience of frequenting a woman was with a witch recently, or a year ago now, I think. And she had no interest in me whatsoever. At least she spent some time with me. But all she was doing really was leading me on, and that became quite tiresome after a while. At least if one goes to Thailand and some young one wants to spend time with you, you know that it will go somewhere at some point. I mean, it might cost you a few pounds or a few dollars, but at least there could be a happy ending if that's the way you want to go. I don't see anything wrong with it personally, but maybe my moral compass has been completely confused. That's how I would see it. Wickedness is not something that you can locate in Phuket or Pattaya or any other place. It's within our hearts and within our society and around us. that's where it thrives, and it's a spiritual energy, and it needs to be removed. We need to stop judging others for what they do, and try to make the best of our lives. I mean, I'm speaking plurally now. I'm speaking about myself, of course, but that's how it does seem to me. So whether my holiday will be a spicy one in a far off country, or whether I'll just trade that for walking in the mountains, which might be safer, people might think. Um, and walking in the mountains and sleeping out, it occurs to me, it's also a biblical thing because of the Feast of the Booths, in which the children of Israel slept out in benders effectively for a week at a certain specific time of the year. So there's no question that being out in the wilderness and sleeping out in the wilderness is something that can bring you closer to a spiritual understanding of life, and I would say closer to God. But what do I know? God bless everybody this morning.